Hey everybody, Aaron here from movie Battleground. We are bringing you guys an exciting new match today. We have two competitors, both who are 1-1, looking to get that second victory. One is looking for a push up in towards a possible championship spot. The other is just looking to push himself up higher in the ranks with that victory today. And we're going to go ahead and just get straight into it. The first player, it's been a while since we've seen him here at Movie Battleground, whether it be as a host or as a player, but he is back. Evan DeGraff with a record of 1-1 and a knockout. Evan, how you doing?
Doing good, Malcolm. You're a good dude, man. But sometimes I just gotta lay it on you. It's sad, but it's the hard truth.
And my teenage mind runs weird places with that statement. Moving on, we have Malcolm Lay, who is also 1-1.
I'm doing pretty good. Just been waiting ages for to get a match, and I'm glad my previous competitor dropped out, so I've now got a better competitor in Evan. And I'm looking for a good fight. And I know Evan can give me that. So.
And if you guys don't know how the game works, what we're going to do is we're going to have 4 main game rounds. We have 4 questions pre-picked. They have their answers pre-picked, and they're going to argue it out. And then if the score means we have to move on to a speed round, whether it be a 3-1 or a 2-2 tie, we'll move on to the speed round. We have a max of 3 questions to determine the winner. If it's a 4-0 to one player by the end of the main game, then it's a knockout victory for that person. You guys both know the rules. You guys ready to play?
Yeah.
All right, guys, and with that, we're going to move into round number 1. So the first question we have in today's match, obviously in a week from now, or by the time this goes up, less than a week, we have Star Wars The Last Jedi releasing in theaters. We know Rian Johnson's not coming back to do Episode 9, but that's because Lucasfilm has enough faith in this movie that they've handed him his whole franchise, or trilogy, to direct and shepherd through production. But we don't know what that trilogy is going to be about. So the question we have today is, what should Rian Johnson's new Star Wars trilogy be about? And Evan, we're going to go to you first for opening statements. Go ahead when you're ready.
Darth Plagueis the Wise. Look, whether you like it or not, what's going to make Disney the most money? Something that is connected or still somewhat tied to the Star Wars story. Something that is new but still there, whether you like it or not. That's what's going to make the money, because that's what people know. So we need something that's also fresh and something that's different and something that can last for a trilogy. And I think that's going to be Darth Plagueis' uprising and downfall. This guy has been alive for thousands and thousands of years. So if you can highlight the best moments of his life, and his downfall of him being a Sith, and then him being Darth Plagueis the Wise to greatness that he is, through that one little mention in Revenge of the Sith that made even the hardcore, original trilogy only fans made them sweat a little bit. I think this could be a great route to go, because Rian Johnson likes telling some dark stories, and this could be a very dark story to tell. So I'm gonna go with Darth Plagueis the Wise.
All right, Malcolm, we move on to you for opening statements.
Well, for me, I picked a movie trilogy set in the Old Republic. I mean, he's already confirmed recently that his trilogy's not going to be Knights of the Old Republic based on the video game. But there's so many things you can have set in the Old Republic era. Really interesting, and I mean, it's just one of those things that it's untapped territory with and something that I want to see.
All right, and with that, we're going to move into the main portion of the fight. For the first round, you guys are going to have 6 minutes to argue it out. Timer starts when you guys begin speaking.
Yeah, I'll go first. I've heard from many people, and also have a friend who's writing a script about this, that the Old Republic trilogy should be a TV series, not a trilogy, because there's so much to cover. If you say, yeah, we're going to base it in the Old Republic, you have so many years and so much content of story to tell. You might get lost and misconstrued in what you need to be telling. And he also said, they're not going to be doing it on Knights of the Old Republic. Some would argue that's probably the best place to do the Old Republic on. And I think that's something that Star Wars fans need to look at is, okay, let's do the Old Republic. But the Knights of the Old Republic is probably the best story, and he's already canceled that out. So does that actually make sense for them to do it if you've already taken out the best story? And then now that's just where I'm at right now with the Old Republic story. There's just too much going on and too much story and too much ground to cover in order for it to be a cohesive unison trilogy.
Yeah, I mean, like, yes, there's so much to cover in a trilogy, and yeah, like, it can work as a TV series, and it's one of those things, like, there's also some storylines that you could that a TV series wouldn't do it justice. It's like there's got a bounty hunter storyline that's set in the Old Republic story, which is going to be the development of, like, Jabba sort of set on the Hutt world, and TV series probably won't do that justice. I mean, think about Darth Plagueis the Rise. Like,
wait, I have a quick question. Why wouldn't the TV series do it justice?
I was just thinking that that big effects that's needed, it could, especially if they go to live action TV series, which
I'm gonna have to combat that point, Malcolm, because look at shows like Game of Thrones. Game of Thrones is a show that's made by Warner Brothers and HBO, makes them ton of money. And if someone drops, hey, we have a Star Wars TV series, and they show even bigger gravity than what Game of Thrones could be, it's gonna make a lot more money. And this is crazy because Game of Thrones is one of the highest making TV shows. It's gonna make a lot more money than Game of Thrones will, a TV series of whatnot, which is why I don't think it can work as trilogy. Because you said, okay, why don't we pick a specific set of TV series? I don't see that working because there's so many different things to tell. What happens if you pick the wrong one? One that doesn't have enough heart and emotion to it, one that won't get the audiences invested.
yeah, like if you're going to do one, I mean, they're going to do one as a trilogy, then I mean they'll probably make sure before they sort of choose it. I mean, the thing about Darth Plagueis the Rise is, like, I don't know if there is much fit about his story that would fit into a trilogy. I mean, it's that one could be something like The Hobbit and just try to stretch out his storyline needlessly.
I see what you're saying, but I think there's a big difference between Darth Plagueis and The Hobbit. The Hobbit was one book. Darth Plagueis has thousands and more creativity to tell because we actually don't know the full story of Darth Plagueis. This is where you give the chance for Rian Johnson to be a creative and say, okay, here's what we have. We have Darth Plagueis, who is more powerful than the Emperor, but the Emperor ends up killing him. This is all you need to know. And Rian Johnson, a creative, some people call an auteur, would say this is the perfect opportunity for him to come in, tell a dark story, the one that people know he can tell, and make something special, because we don't usually see a villain story. But as all of us know, if The Last Jedi is coming out like how it should be, and they trusted him with the trilogy, and it's going to be good, this is a perfect opportunity for an auteur like Rian Johnson to come in.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, and but I mean, it's feel that if you do something wrong, and that, I mean, I'm not thinking that Ryan can't do it at all. I'm saying is, like, if you do something wrong in this trilogy, like take character in a completely different path than what the fans want, would cause a lot of backlash with is.
I don't think the fans know what they want, however, because there's so little, but also so much in Darth Plagueis characters. So the idea
All right,
that
and
when
with that, I'm gonna have to call time on the main part of the match. Chance to give a closing statement. Evan, since you opened first, you're gonna go first on closing.
Okay, at the end of the day, the Old Republic just has too many stories to tell in that amount of time. It's even serious to do it much more justice, because you could do season after season after season after season and have that be different time periods and have different characters for each season. But that would be the Old Republic. For telling a trilogy, you have to shove 3 sets of stories or one story, and it becomes too convoluted. But if you have Darth Plagueis the Wise's trilogy, you have a few things. Rian Johnson can tell a dark story. Darth Plagueis is a character that the audiences have been wondering about for a long time, and it's gonna be dark. It's gonna be something that Rian Johnson wants to do, and I think that's where I'm at with this. Is as an auteur, you are giving more. The best type of creativity is controlled creativity. Something that you have something like, okay, here are the restrictions that you have. Now go. I don't know if you can do that with the Old Republic.
All right, switching over to Malcolm.
The Old Republic will work a lot better a trilogy. I mean, yes, you can do like a side, like Rebels is doing in them time period as Rogue One, but you can focus on like a major storyline which too big for things. Like, yeah, Game of Thrones and that have done it before, but I mean, big storylines which I want to see the set on the Old Republic time frame. The thing about Darth Plagueis is like problem of like is a big mystery and all that, but I mean problem of his his story into 3 movies and not have it seem a little bit flabby in the middle. And that's that.
All right, good round 1, guys. Definitely some good points brought up on both sides about why your franchises could work. However, for this run, I am going to have to give the point to Evan on that one. I think he did a better job of defending Malcolm's hits than Malcolm did of hitting his. Also, Evan talked more about how Rian Johnson could work specifically in this, with this plot based on his previous work and what we know he can do. And also, Malcolm did kind of concede the point in the middle that a TV show may work better or as well as a trilogy could have. And considering that was a major hit from Evan right at the start, conceding that didn't help. But all around, definitely, I think you guys both did a good job when it came to giving your initial idea of how this could work. But I just think throughout the rest of the fight, Evan held it up better there. So the point is going to go to him for round number 1.
Good job, Malcolm.
Yeah, I was like, when you hit me like that, I was like, oh fuck.
And so with that, we are going to move on to round number 2. And for this one, another movie that's, depending on your area, is already in theaters or is just entering theaters or may not be in theaters for another couple weeks. But it's a movie called The Disaster Artist, directed, written, starring, produced by James Franco, about Tommy Wiseau, the guy who starred in, directed, wrote, and produced one of the best worst films ever made, The Room. And so this made us want to ask the question, what is the best movie about making a movie? Now, we did open this up to both cinematic films and documentaries. However, both players were able to find 2 cinematic storytelling movies that told the making of a movie, and I think they both did a really good job with these picks. Malcolm, you're going to be up first with opening on this one. What is your pick for best movie about the making of a movie?
The movie that I picked was Saving Mr. Banks, and this is about of Mary Poppins, and it stars Tom Hanks, Emma Thompson, and it's very interesting, and it shows drama he had to go through to actually get this movie made. So that's why I picked it for best movie about making.
All right, and Evan, we move over to you.
There's only one answer to this for me, and it's The Artist, the movie that came out in 2011 by director Michael, let's hope I can say his name, Hazana Vicious, and it's a silent movie. It's a risk, and it's about this actor who I think this takes place in Hollywood, but the dude's French, so he's a silent actor, and this takes place I think a little bit before the 20s, during that time when silent movies were really taking off and everybody was really geared up to see these movies. And this is when the term called talkies started coming out. The movies with sound, the movies with words and people actually talking to each other. That's when talkies are coming out, and we start to see his downfall of him as an actor go down because him as a silent actor and him being French in Hollywood, he can't really do talkies. He can't speak that fluent of English. And we learn that at the end of the film as well. But we learn about his downfall and how he starts becoming upset. He starts trying to do his own movie production company. It's not working out. It's a beautiful film that is risk-taking because it's a silent film in the 2010s. Yet the cinematography, the music, and everything surrounding it is just so beautiful, including a John Goodman cameo.
All right, and with that, we're going to open it up for discussion. 5 minutes on the clock when one of you begins speaking.
The floor is yours.
Well, I mean, Saving Mr. Banks is movie made about making a movie because, it's the story about the making of Mary Poppins has been, everyone has wanted to see a movie, and it's one of those ones that so much in it that it's just very interesting to see. I mean, and the thing about the artist was silent movie era. I think that the made as a silent movie. I mean, but it kind of didn't. I mean, to do it as a silent movie is people of this generation. Not a lot of people have these days, and the fact that they did it as a silent movie. I don't think it worked.
I think I'm gonna have to react to that point really fast because one of my clear points was it was a risk, and it was something that not a lot of people were expecting. Whenever you took a risk like this, it was, what are we gonna do? How are we gonna sell this? And it sold well, and it did really well with the critics. I think it won a few Oscar nominations or got nominated for a few Oscars. Won 5 Oscars.
I'll fact check that.
Yeah, it won 5. It won 5 Oscars, and it was something that people didn't expect. And I want to pop on to something with Saving Mr. Banks. Yes, the performances were great, but they were also doing the artists with a bunch of unknown actors, some of them being French actors and actresses in these roles that people, were like no names to them. And the fact that they were able to pull this off, a bunch of no-name actors, and if you want to compare it to Saving Mr. Banks, were on level with actors with Saving Mr. Banks because they couldn't use their words. A lot of acting is in their words, but they did an even better job because they had to use their emotions with their face. They had to use their body language, and that was the way how they had to portray what they mean. So I think that's a big problem. And then also with Mary Poppins, it is a retelling of how Mary Poppins was made, But there's a point in this movie, or especially Saving Mr. Banks, it kind of just gets boring and starts dragging along, and the pacing of it doesn't keep up with it. The artist, because of the music and because how quickly it moves and how the pace feels, you're always engaged because there's always something to look at. And I think that's really important whenever you're trying to think about and integrate all of the parts of the two films and comparing them.
I mean, thanks. Like, I thought for what they wanted to do, I actually pacing of it, like a slow-paced film works better for me because storylines you need to have it slow. People can sort of pick up. I mean, if you have it paced all through, like there can be so much happening and can tend to miss things. I mean, that's the artist. Like, it's just so fast paced. I like keep that it's trying to say.
I see what you're saying, but you also have to remember the artist is a kind of it's not a hefty watch, but it's all black and white. So, we want to talk about the general audience and what that means to them. You have to be able to have a fast-paced movie so they keep interested. This is like we are going back in time, and people usually don't like that. And the facts that they're able to make it work is huge. And I also want to hit on the facts, the aspects of the filmmaking. We got to see him be the main actor and the lead in the role. We got to see him be a star in who he was. But then once this talkie started coming out, you started just seeing it fall down, and you started seeing his life crumble. And that still happens in Hollywood today. And I think that's important because the second something changes in the industry or you change in the industry, that can easily crumble down and fall. And I think that is something that we ought to think about, especially with the artist, because it was a changing industry and a man who was already a star, yet the man started crumbling because the industry was changing. And that's something that you have to look at when he was talking about the artist.
Okay, and with that, I'm going to have to call time on the fight. Malcolm, you're going to go first with closing arguments.
Well, thanks. Is a really good movie based on a movie because there's Tom Hanks, Emma Thompson, and Colin Farrell. It's a story about that they had to go through to actually push to get, and it showed why it happens almost never happened. And it did a really good job of all that. And yeah, with the artist, like it's a decent movie, but really at times it can be really hard to watch. And with the fast pace and like going with, but I mean, there's a few moments in which just didn't at the same time.
All right.
Yeah, that's all.
All right, Evan, go ahead.
I think a lot of what you're saying is face value. And I don't want this to be harsh, but you're speaking. Tom Hanks was in the movie. Emma Thompson was in the movie. Colin Farrell was in the movie. That's great. That is great and all. But what showed the process of filmmaking deeper? What shows the struggle that a character has to go through better? It's the artist, and what is more experimental and what had bigger impact, I would argue, in both the Oscar run and in the industry, it was the artist. There are so many moving parts in this French film. that need to be talked about. And when you break it down, it's this artist, and then here's the thing, he even tried doing his own thing. We started seeing how the production company ideology in the 1920s in Hollywood worked, which a lot of people don't realize. The studio system is much more different than it was now, and the artist did such a beautiful job at portraying that, and it's crucial to the film. So with the film that has stars, except for John Goodman, that people really aren't that familiar with, and for a story that was inspired by 1920s silent film, and by a movie that taken a lot of risk and is specifically a character study, it is the overall better film than Saving Mr. Banks. And I stand by that because I think it's a great movie.
All right, once again, guys, really good fight there. Just a couple quick cleanups when talking about the artists. The first one is, and again, I'm probably going to butcher this, but I did actually try to look up and listen to the pronunciation of the director's name. I'm going to butcher this because of I don't have a French accent, but it's Michel Hazanavicius, or the H is silent. It's Hazanavicius is how you say it. Obviously, I'm not French, so that sounds white as fuck. When you talk about the success of the film, it made $133.4 million on a $15 million budget. And it also had a 96% on Rotten Tomatoes. And then you talked about Oscars as well, just to clean that up. It was nominated for 10. It won 5. It was nominated for Supporting Actress, Original Screenplay, Art Direction, Best Cinematography, and Best Film Editing, and won Original Score, Costume Design, Best Actor, Best Director, and Best Picture. All right, and with that, neither of you really got a lot of fire-offs against the other's movie. And I think we'll both agree that these are both two good movies.
Yes.
So I think that does play into it. Sometimes people have a tendency to not want to attack good movies because it makes people think maybe they don't like that movie. We had another fight. I don't want to. Actually, I was gonna say, yeah, this match will be up by the time this match goes up. But in the one we just had with Medina and Clark with the fourth round, they picked two good movies. And they almost didn't want to fight because they liked the movie. They both liked each other's movie. Well, I'll just say it because obviously it's already released. But the question was best Gerard Butler movie, and the answers were How to Train Your Dragon versus How to Train Your Dragon 2. So
yeah,
so it's one of those things where this is kind of one of those things where it's like we have two really good movies, and sometimes you don't want to fire off against it. So when we're talking about just your specific defenses of the movie. Unfortunately, I think this kind of does sum it up, and it is a bit of an attack, is a lot of Malcolm's defenses were a little surface level. He talked about how it does do a good job of showing the difficulty of making a movie that we all love and how all the actors gave great performances. I think Evan gave a bit more context to how The Artist was much more of a risky film, and it had reward from it. He talked about the actors having to give these Oscar-level performances without having one of the biggest components of acting, which is dialogue. They are making a silent movie, and they have to still give the same level of performance on top without having that extra thing there. And he also talked about how it does kind of reflect the way that industry still works today. So I think overall he just had a couple deeper hits with his argument there. And with that, I'm going to have to give the second round to Evan once again. But it was a good round. It was a good round for both of you. I just think he got a little deeper with the defenses he had. And unfortunately, because it is a case of two good movies, we didn't have any real hits against the other movie to help balance it out a little bit. But once again, good round for both of you guys.
Good work, Malcolm. Good man.
All right. And so with that, with the recent success of the film Coco, I haven't had a chance to see it yet. I'm assuming or hoping you two have. I've been very busy. I haven't seen it yet. I really want to, though. I'm glad the Frozen short's not in front of it because I don't want to kill a half hour of my day. But I'll see it at some point.
You're awful.
I'm sorry. Wasn't that short also apparently awful?
It could have been worse. It could have been worse.
That's what my parents say about me. That's not a compliment. All right. So with that, with the success of Coco, with the success of what else we got? Inside Out, Finding Dory, all these amazing Pixar films we've had. The question we have is, what is the most exciting upcoming movie from Pixar Animation? And I realized after writing this question, I only think there are 2 options available. And we have the 2 options picked today. So let's argue it out, guys. Evan, you're up first.
I was being nice, but with this answer, I'm not gonna lie. I was kind of being nice. I wanted to give Malcolm a chance here, so I went with the notorious Toy Story 4, a movie which kind of came off of a perfect trilogy, or a movie that is coming off of a perfect trilogy, in which we now have new information that John Lasseter was a bit of a creep while making these movies. But good news is, the writer that works with him is going to be on the film again. And so now we're going to be seeing the success story come out of Toy Story 4. Yes, I'm going with this defense because I'm a sick son of a person, but she will have her justice, and we will have a woman riding Toy Story 4. Now, that's amazing on 2 fronts. One, we have someone who survived John Lasseter's sexual harassment writing a story, into a woman writing Toy Story 4. And, well, I'll dive deeper into the story too, but we're now finding out what happens with Bonnie. Remember, Andy was his character. He's like, okay, he was attached, but not too attached. We don't know much about Bonnie. And now we get to explore a whole new human character, which I think we're going to start seeing more, the relationship between the humans and the toys, which is something that we didn't get a lot in Toy Story 1, 2, and 3, which is something that I'm very excited to dive deeper into. And also, Bonnie's going to be a bit older, and we're going to start seeing a character arc with her. We're also going to start seeing new characters introduced, and how the old ones and the new ones are going to clash. It's going to be a very interesting movie that I'm super excited for.
We'll move on to Malcolm.
Well, the movie that I went for is, surprise, surprise, another sequel. But I mean, it's a sequel that we've been waiting 14 years for, and it's The Incredibles 2. I mean, movie that fans have been asking for since the first one was released. 53-second teaser that we had recently, it's become the most viewed animated film in 24 hours. So I mean, it shows that everyone is interested in wanting to see it. Incredibles 2 as for.
All right, guys, you guys are gonna have 5 minutes to argue most exciting upcoming Pixar animation movie.
Floor is yours.
Well, in arguments, it's the most, the one that fans have been for ages. I mean, with Toy Story 4, I mean, ending of Toy Story 3, it capped the trilogy off. There really isn't much more that they can go. I mean, yes, we can do the Bonnie in there in the toys, but I mean, that's pretty much going to be quite similar to with Andy in that. So I mean, I don't know if it again.
I have to disagree with that really fast, because we actually, the more I sit on the Toy Story movies, the more we didn't get much of the human character of Andy. Yes, we know, he wanted to get rid of his toys he didn't want to. He felt sentimental, but we actually didn't dive deep into Andy's life. I think we're going to get more with Bonnie, however, because from what I recall in Toy Story 3, she's going to carry the toys back and forth from the daycare. I think that's something that we're going to see. And we're going to see them going back and forth, back and forth. They're going to be, I have a feeling that they're going to be with Bonnie a lot. And the more that they're with Bonnie, the more we're going to see Bonnie in her story. And that's something in Toy Story that we haven't really explored much. And I also want to bounce off the facts of the Incredibles 2 thing. Brad Bird, his last film was Tomorrowland. Not a very good movie. And whenever your last film is Tomorrowland, you're going through some rough patches. And he has not done an animated movie, I want to say, since the masterpiece of Ratatouille. But that's since 2007. And guess when Incredibles comes out? 2018. That's 11 years where he has cold for making animated movies. I don't know what to expect at this point. This is a lot of people aren't talking about this, but it's uncharted waters right now for Brad Bird. He's kind of cold.
Yeah, but bouncing back off that point, his last movie was Tomorrowland, but actually, like when he does animated movies, he does them good. It's like the first Incredibles. Ratatouille was it's great too, but Toy Story 4, there actually isn't a lot of plot details, and like one of the plot details that came out was that it's going to be a love story between and whether or not that's going to change or not, it's yet to be seen. But I mean, who knows what Toy Story 4 is going to be like? The plot details for Incredibles 2 is like that. It's going to pick up right where the first one off with them facing off against the miner.
Yeah.
They've also said that also focus more on Elastigirl's side of things, which is it shows that they're going to delve more into the life of her, flashbacks to her before meeting up with Bob. It's interesting. I mean, it's something completely new and
however, something that we
exciting.
need to talk about is the directors on Toy Story 4. The last time that Pixar had a first-time director on a movie was Coco, and Coco is one of the most critically acclaimed Pixar movies, and is looking to make a lot of money for a Pixar movie during the Thanksgiving time, and that is huge for Pixar. And now we have a new director, Josh Cooley, who is about to Josh Cooley, who is a first-time director in this Pixar system, and he is paired up with producer Jonas Rivera, whose last movie was Inside Out. Now, this is a perfect combination for a few reasons. You have a producer who is well-spoken, has done many films, knows what he's doing, and now he is moving on and now is moving on and doing Toy Story 4, something that you could argue is more of a risk because it is a franchise that people are comfortable with. And now we have Josh Cooley, a new director who's going to be reinventing something. And I think it's good for a new director to come in and do that because it's his chance to express who he is, yet have that, what I was talking about earlier in this match, creative control. And that's important for a new director.
So with that, I am going to have to call time on the main portion of the round. You guys have closing arguments. Evan, you're up first.
All right, here we go. Sorry, give me. All right, here we go. So, bottom line is this: The Incredibles 2 is highly anticipated, and it kind of reminds me of Avengers: Age of Ultron for a few reasons. It's highly anticipated. You know, it made a lot of money the last time it came about, and everybody is looking forward to it. The Avengers: Age of Ultron was a good movie, but everybody was so upset with just how little lower quality it was. And I'm scared with that for The Incredibles because it has that level of hype to it. And whenever you have that type of expectation being set, that causes some issues for one Pixar and one and other things such as that. Now, next things next. Speaking strictly with Toy Story 4, we now have a story where John Lasseter was going to be where he was going to be the director in things such as that. However, we now have someone else who is writing the script, who is a woman who actually got through the cases with John Lasseter, and I thank her for being strong. And we have a new director, which is you, huge, and we also have a producer who is experienced. Bouncing off of that, we have characters that all of us love so dear and heartedly. The last movie made a crap ton of money. I think the biggest opening weekend for Pixar, that or Finding Dory, which made a lot of money. So why not go back to Toy Story 4? Because here's a few things. One, it's going to make a lot of money. Two, audiences are going to love it. And three, it is part of the Pixar farm system. And this is the reason why people argue that Pixar has the best production company in the world, because their farm system is amazing.
All right, moving on to Malcolm.
Yeah, I mean, Incredibles 2 is the right for 13 years now, but it'll be by the time it's supposed to be 14 years. But so I mean, it's focused on as opposed to being another Bob story. It has got a lot of hype, and it's one of those things like it's got the same director, Brad Bird, who's proven that with Pixar movies that he kicks them arc, and Toy Story 4, like we don't know much about the story that they're going to focus. Like the only thing that's come out about Pixar for Toy Story 4 is that they're looking at doing a love story between Woody and Bo Peep. Like details out there to be excited about yet. And I mean, the figures like Toy Story 3 capped it off very nicely. So, fourth movie, which does not really need to happen. It's like a first-time director, and I mean, just first-time directors, it's hard to be excited for it, because what you're going to get, and two is very proven director, and like you've got a lot of details storyline wise, so that's why Incredibles 2 is the most exciting.
All right. With that, guys, it was a good round. Just a couple quick cleanups. Talking specifically about just some of the different employee things that Evan mentioned. Maybe info has been updated since, and I'm just not aware of it. But last I was aware of, the writer that he was referencing was Rashida Jones, who wrote Toy Story 4. Her script is still being used, but she is no longer involved with the project. And her official statement said that her leaving the project was more to a creative, it was like she felt creatively rejected more than it was anything John Lasseter may have done to her personally. Obviously, we're not in the studio. We cannot confirm nor deny anything John Lasseter may have done. But there are a lot of reports out there from other people of things he may have done, and he has obviously stepped away, so there is some validity to those reports. Also, and Malcolm did address this in his argument. They had previously released a plot line they have stood by, that the movie will be addressing Bo Peep's absence from Toy Story 3 and centering the story around Woody and Buzz trying to find her and bring her back. Also talking about, you mentioned Toy Story 4 will be directed by Josh Cooley, who was a first-time director. His biggest involvement previously was as head story writer for Inside Out. However, the last movie directed by a first-time director for Pixar was actually Cars 3, who was directed by Brian Fee. Coco was co-directed by Adrian Molina, who had never directed a movie before, but the lead director was actually Lee Unkrich, whose last movie was Toy Story 3. All right, and then you also talked about the box office success real fast. Toy Story 3 is the second widest opening for a Pixar film at 110. The only one above that, as you said, is Finding Dory, which made $135 million domestically in its opening weekend. Holy shit, that's a lot of money. All right. Overall, that was a good round for both players. And when I'm looking back at it, um, Evan talked about how, you know, it's coming in and has the opportunity to expand for Toy Story 4, coming in to expand off of what is a perfect trilogy, and it's coming in and has the opportunity to expand on that. And he did kind of start to pitch the idea that the story could go in a direction we've never seen and explore the human characters. But then Malcolm did hit that back with the fact of they have actually released what the plot will roughly be about, and it doesn't involve that in any sort of way. Unless obviously there's a twist there that we don't see with the story that they're not releasing ahead of time. Obviously, predicting plots is all
I was
speculative.
confirmed because it's not on the Pixar Animated Studios website.
There have been interviews talking about it. It is something that is known that that's what they may not have put it up as an official plot line, but there have been interviews out there that that's what they're working on, and that's what the original script idea they had was.
All right, fair enough.
But with that as well, you know, with Incredibles 2, Malcolm talked about how the movie is it is incredibly hyped, and that even though Brad Bird, Evan did point out that Brad Bird may be rusty when it comes to making animated films, he did make 2 of Pixar's best movies, and Evan cannot sit here and deny that with a face. There he goes. And he talked about how it's changing the point of view a little bit, characters, it's picking up where the story left off. I think I got to give it to Malcolm on that one. It was a close fight, but I think Malcolm takes it that round.
Mike, sir.
It was a good fight. All right, and so with that, we move on to question number 4. This one was just a fun question. Credit where credit is due. This one was suggested by a friend of the show, Henry Sanchez. Just something he thought of one day that was interesting and wanted to see fought. So I thought, let's throw it in there and see what we can get.
I haven't either.
But who should play Snake Plissken in the remake of Escape from New York, or Escape from LA if that's your fancy? Malcolm's nodding his head. That may be a yes. No, but we're going with Malcolm first on this argument for opening arguments. Who should play Snake Plissken in the remake of Escape from New York?
Somewhere there, Matthew Coons yelling not to remake it, but the pick I is Daniel Radcliffe. For the simple reason, he's since doing Harry Potter have been sort of low on the lower side of things, so he needs something big to give his career a. So and I think him playing Snake Plissken in a remake, like from his hair long, like it could be an interesting role. That's something that he's never done before. Boosting his career, the stigma of him always being typecast as playing wizards or farting corpses. Harry Potter's shadow as well.
All right, and we'll move on to Evan for his opening.
Look, Snake Plissken's supposed to be, for lack of better words, badass. Harry Potter was never a badass. But we do need somebody who was. Chris Pratt, dude. Like, look at Jurassic Park and Guardians of the Galaxy alone. Can't you imagine Chris Pratt in a freaking eye patch? Because I can't imagine him in an eye patch. And that's all important to Snake Plissken. And heck, you know, we've seen Chris Pratt beef up. I don't think I've ever seen Daniel Radcliffe beef up. We've seen Chris Pratt can grow some hair. I don't think Daniel Radcliffe can grow some hair. We'll talk about it later, but come on, dude. Daniel Radcliffe, what are you doing, bro?
All right, and as we insult the manhood of British actors, 5 minutes on the clock. Time starts when one of you begins speaking.
Have fun with this.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I mean, he's an interesting choice, but I mean, it's also one of those ones that, like, it's to go off as like, well, we know this because he has been a badass. Like, but when it comes to the reason I picked Daniel Radcliffe is like it shows some range, so it's hard to say. Like it's a risky move, that's for sure. But I mean,
You're also forgetting something very important, very very important, dude. Kurt Russell is motherfucking American. Chris Pratt is motherfucking American. Guess who's not motherfucking American? Daniel Radcliffe. Get him out of here.
well, I mean, Russell's American. I mean, I escape from Alcatraz either to escape from New York about that to comment. But I mean, like Cliff, a chance to sort of and I mean, it's one of those things like yes, he's British, but I mean, there's been a lot of times in which with remakes they've changed a little bit about people, but they've like the
Also have another kind of important question for you too. What's gonna sell more on a poster? Escape from New York starring Chris Pratt or Escape from New York starring Daniel Radcliffe? The answer is pretty simple. It's Chris Pratt because he's going to be starring in Infinity War. He starred in the Magnificent Seven. He starred in the Lego Movie. At the end of the day, it just comes down to what's going to make money and who's better fit for the role, and it's Chris Pratt.
I mean, yes, Chris Pratt has made a lot of money, but I mean, he's also got a lot, as you pointed out. Like if this remake does happen, he's got a lot of stuff on his plate that coming up. Is like there's going to be a Guardians of the Galaxy 3 movies, and so he's going to be busy with the MCU. And Daniel
So does Radcliffe. I want to make that clear. Radcliffe has 2 productions coming up in 2018, plus more probably, and he hasn't finished all of his 2017 productions either. So you might want to keep that in your head, because the fact that Daniel Radcliffe isn't done with all of his productions either, it shows that he is equally as busy.
I mean, yeah, like, yes, like, yeah. I mean, Chris Pratt, I mean, yeah, I mean, I did enjoy him in Volume 2. I mean, I always find him as being one note. Like he's always done a lot of comedic stuff, so I don't style will fit in the role of Snake Plissken. I mean, and I mean, I agree that like both actors need a chance to show a different side to their acting, and I mean, Daniel Radcliffe has shown that something different from Wizard because he was in I don't know if you horror thriller movie The Man in Black. So he's shown a little bit of range that he can do a horror movie. He's a chance to play in a big action setting as well.
Look, at the end of the day, it's, do you want the Snake Plissken that everybody else wants and that everybody loves, or do you want the Snake Plissken that is going to tend to a UK audience? And at the end of the day, I want an American Snake Plissken.
All right, and with that, I am going to have to call time. We're going to go ahead and move into final arguments. Malcolm, you're up first.
I mean, I think Daniel Radcliffe can Snake Plissken because he needs a chance to diverse and show a new side of his acting to got a shadow. Because at the moment, a lot of his roles, like some of his movies, have been great. Because I enjoyed Swiss Army Man, but another big budget out of Harry Potter's shadow and make people go, oh, instead of looking at the movie, go, oh, I want to see that movie because it's got Harry Potter in it. Snake Plissken can be his chance to get out of that shadow. I mean, like Chris Pratt, he's a good actor. I mean, he makes a lot of money, but I mean, he's got a lot of movies. So busy with the MCU that, like, whether or not he has time to do it is another thing. I mean, a lot of Daniel Radcliffe's things is probably on the lower end of scale. I mean, I don't budgets and all that on how big they are, but like they could be movies that can be filmed very quickly. The MCU movies really don't. So that's why I think Daniel Radcliffe can make a good Snake Plissken.
All right,
Okay.
we move on to Evan.
I'm going to read some things off to you. 5'5", 5'11", and 6'3". What do those numbers mean to you? It's the heights of the actors. Daniel Radcliffe is too short. He's not going to chunk up enough to play this role, and he's just a little too scrawny, which I'm cool with. You can have scrawny actors. That's perfectly fine by me. But he doesn't have that mantra of Kurt Russell. He's not. He doesn't have that American to him. You know, Daniel Radcliffe is just kind of this British boy who's really good at acting. Don't get me wrong. However, whenever you approach a role like Kurt Russell and Snake Plissken, you kind of got to be like this, dude. Like, you don't even know. You kind of got to be like Chris Pratt in the eye patch, and you kind of got to shoo those mofos down. I can't see Daniel Radcliffe doing something like this. I'm kind of going back to British. I can't see Daniel Radcliffe going to something like this, dude. Like, there's no possible chance. None. No possible chance. Just Chris Pratt is taller, stronger, and it's going to sell a lot more movie tickets. Bye-bye. Go America.
All right, and what was certainly an interesting battle. Just a couple quick cleanups here. I was reading into some of the remake history of the idea of remaking Escape from New York. This is a movie that's had an interesting remake history. Remake talk first started in 2007 with Gerard Butler in talks for the lead. In 2007, 300 Gerard Butler would actually make sense for something like this. And then from what I can see, they attached Len Wiseman. He dropped out. They wanted to attach Ratner, but he stepped away.
Good thing.
Gerard Butler then dropped out. In 2010, they began talks with Jeremy Renner to take over the role. So this was when everybody was trying to hand Jeremy Renner a franchise, and obviously we all saw that didn't work. Then Joel Silver gave an interview saying that they wanted to reboot the franchise in a similar way to Rise of the Planet of the Apes. And then in a separate interview, now we're in 2014, he said that the movie's script would be inspired by the video game Batman Arkham City. Then the movie changed studios to 20th Century Fox in January of 2015.
Who ironically is going back to Disney. What?
Then Fox also said they wanted to reboot the movie in a Planet of the Apes style. And then the most recent announcement was that in March of 2017, it was announced the movie was in active pre-production with John Carpenter producing and Robert Rodriguez attached to direct. And that's the most recent we've heard on this movie. So will it get made? Absolutely no clue. Moving to the fights and talking about the actors, you guys both talked about how busy their schedules might be coming up, but neither of them actually have all that much in concrete information. From what I could find, Daniel Radcliffe coming up has a British TV show called Miracle Workers that's set for a 2018 release. So he is either recording or filming or already having filmed that. Other than that, he's got a list of about 7 movies here. 2 of them are set for a 2018 release. So again, they are either being filmed or have already been filmed. The others are all to be announced release dates or to be announced filmmakers. So he really has nothing concrete on his schedule yet. As with Chris Pratt, the only concrete movie he has filming wise is he is currently filming Avengers 4, whatever that will end up being titled. Guardians 2 or Guardians 3 obviously does have an announcement, but there's nothing concrete about a script, a release date, or any filming schedule, so he's not officially attached to that. He has the Lego Movie sequel. Obviously, that's just a couple days in a recording booth. That won't take up that much time. And then other than that, he still has Cowboy Ninja Viking, which was announced a couple years ago and is still currently at an announced level. So nothing has actively moved on that in a little while. So neither actor is actually as busy in the current moment as you think they would be, although I imagine their schedules will pick up at some point. And yes, we can confirm Kurt Russell is American. We can confirm this. Other than that, I think I'm going to have to give the point to Evan on that fight just because Malcolm didn't actually have a lot to combat Chris Pratt with. Whereas even if they're all kind of low blows with him saying he's too short or not American, he did have something to go against Daniel Radcliffe with. So something is better than nothing. So I'm going to give the point to Evan on that one. Although I think both of them came in definitely with a bit more of a jokey feel on this fight.
Oh, yeah, for sure. No, like, yeah, America all the way, dude.
I haven't seen the movie, though, so I can't say whether or not it should be remade, but I can't imagine that'll go over well if they ever announce that.
And,
just can't imagine.
Actually, just thought of someone else which could work better. It's another MCU actor, and it's Chris Hemsworth.
Yeah, as soon as you started talking about eye patches, I was like, Hemsworth. Yeah, that might work.
Yeah.
All right, but he's also not American enough. Although his American accent's a little more convincing.
Yeah.
All right, guys, with that, the score is 3-1, so we're going to move into the speed round. So here's how it works. In order to win, these guys, we have changed the rules on the speed round up a bit. We've extended the timeouts. These guys are going to have 30 seconds and then 15 seconds to argue. But here's how it lays down, basically. Malcolm, in order to win this match, has to get all 3 points in the speed round. Evan only needs 1 to mathematically eliminate Malcolm and win the match for himself. So let's see how many questions we can get this done in. With that being said, the first question, I'm going to give you 2 movies that relate to each other in some way. You guys have to pick which one of these 2 is the better. The question is, what is the better Judd Apatow comedy? 40-Year-Old Virgin or Knocked Up?
40-Year-Old Virgin.
40-Year-Old Virgin.
All right, Evan did get 40-Year-Old Virgin in first, so Malcolm is going to have to go Knocked Up. Like I said, guys, it's going to be 30 and 15. Evan, you're up first with 40-Year-Old Virgin. 30 seconds on the clock when you begin speaking.
40-Year-Old Virgin is one of the most memeable and gifted movies in the whole wide world because you get to see Steve Carell get waxed and you get to see him not know what a condom is and not know how to put it on. Did he put it on his finger? What happened? Or did she have to put it on for him? And then he decided not to have sex, and it's really funny. And then he was given a bunch of porn and didn't know what to do with it. And rest in peace, August Ames, because she died because people were cyberbullying over porn. But however, we keep moving forward. It's just a funnier movie, and it's a lot better known. It's well more known among this community, and whenever a movie is well known among our community, that usually means it's better. So Judd Apatow's, and also Paul Rudd kind of got his career started from this. So just a lot of moving pieces.
All right, Malcolm, 30 seconds for Knocked Up.
Well, I mean, being widely known, make a movie better, but Knocked Up is the better movie. Like it was what arguably launched Seth Rogen's and not just as a cameo in Anchorman, but and not because like it had a good story, and it's one of those ones that.
All right, move it over to Evan. 15 seconds on the clock when you begin speaking.
It launched Seth Rogen's career. If you know anything about Seth Rogen and his voice, he would have launched his own motherfucking career either one way or another. Don't know if we're allowed to kiss on this, but I have to make that point because it's Seth Rogen and also 40-year-old virgin. Better well move among this community. This community is something special, and whoever it's better known among this community usually means it's better.
All right, Malcolm, 15 seconds on the clock.
Yeah, I mean, the problem I have with 40-year-old virgin, and most of the characters are just bland or like knocked up. You get a lot more personality, like, and
Fine.
I mean it's.
All right. Different approach with this. He first started talking about how the movie, through memes and kind of pop culture, has hung around in popularity, and how the fact that it's a more known or recognized film in film communities means that it must lean into being better. Malcolm argues back with the fact that just because it's known doesn't necessarily mean that it's good, and that it did help launch Seth Rogen's career. And then in the rebuttal, Evan says Rogen's career probably would have launched without the movie. I think I'm going to actually have to give the point to Malcolm on this one, because he addressed the actual movie more than Evan did specifically with the movie. If we're talking about actually addressing the movie in your argument, Evan talked more about how it stuck around and remained popular rather than the actual context of the film. Whereas Malcolm talked about how Seth Rogen's role in it helped launch his career, and he talked about how, while I disagree with it, he did mention that the characters to him felt more, in 40-year-old version, felt more bland than what we got in Knocked Up. And it is talking about the context of the argument within the film, which is better, so I'm going to have to give it to Malcolm on that point.
Hello, darkness, my old friend.
All right, guys. So with that, we're going to move on to another question. And all right, here we go. So I'm trying to remember, because recording got all sorts of fucked up. This question has either already been asked as a main game or will be asked as a main game question, but we're going to do a quick speed round with it here. What is the most emotional movie ever?
Titanic.
No, dude. Oh no. We're gonna go with Good Will Hunting.
All right, actually two good picks. Titanic taking on Good Will Hunting. We get the proper 30 seconds back up. Malcolm is going to go first on this argument. It's Titanic versus Good Will Hunting, most emotional movie ever. 30 seconds on the clock when you begin speaking, Malcolm.
Titanic is the most emotional movie ever because, true story, and it's one of those stories which, like, when you know what has actually when you know that it actually happened, it makes even the most hardest of strong grown men's cry. And I mean, like, the acting performances from Leo and
Time.
Kat.
All right, Evan, 30 seconds on the clock.
If Titanic is one of the most emotional movies of all time, it wouldn't be memed as much. Now let's get into Good Will Hunting. It has so many emotional moments, just like the monologue that Robin Williams gives, just like that moment between Minnie and Matt Damon and their moments together, Goodwill, I should say. And then also at the very end, how about them apples? I got the number, and just the whole send off, the whole thing, the guy being adoption, the guy accidentally abusing his girlfriend, and him having to go through that character arc, and him having to understand that because his parents were awful doesn't mean that he has to be too. And that's just something beautiful that.
All right. Once I get it up, Malcolm, 15 seconds on the clock when you begin speaking.
I mean, Good Will Hunting, yeah, it's probably it's up there with. But I mean, like for me, nothing beats emotion. Like watching
Fine.
something that.
All right, Evan, 15 seconds.
You also really want to know something that makes that really makes Good Will Hunting even more emotional. Robin Williams' death. Rest in peace.
Gonna cut it there. Even though I think that last part of the argument could literally be implanted into any Robin Williams movie ever.
It works.
I honestly, I think both the second halves of those arguments were a little weaker. I think Malcolm had a point he was trying to get to, but he just got a little caught up under the speed of it and couldn't quite get it out there. But if we're just talking about the first 30 seconds where the strong points of both these arguments came in, most of Malcolm's argument was focused on the fact that this is a true story, and when you think about that this really happened to people, it gets you emotional. Whereas Evan went into more specifics of scenes and characters, and the scenes that he listed gave a different, wide, more complex range of emotions that you feel through the movie than you would in Good Will Hunting or in Titanic. So with that, I am going to give the point to Evan, and with that, Evan does get the victory in today's match. And you know what? I just remembered. I did just finally remember this match that question had already been previously recorded and used in a match. The two answers given there, forget who it was that did it, but it was Inside Out versus Shawshank Redemption.
Okay, Inside Out's a good shout, but Shawshank, I would argue, is just a better kind of storytelling movie, not really as emotional.
All right, so with that, guys, the score is 4-2. Evan does get the victory. And with that, we're going to go ahead and get to Malcolm first. Malcolm, how are you feeling, man?
I'm like going into this. I knew Evan was a really good competitor. Like he was number one for ages until he got knocked down. But I mean, it's one of those ones like. I managed to get to the speed round of Evan, which was something I wasn't sure it was going to happen after the first two rounds. So, like the experience, and I've had with the speed round and the Marvel one helped a little bit. So, but like Evan was a good competitor, and he gave me a good run for the money. So.
Definitely. And all right, I'm actually going to call it for a second. Matt, edit this part out. I'm going to quickly run the stats on Evan specifically, just because I want to see compared to the others where he comes in ranked, because this will be his final match of the year. So this will tell us if he has a high seed in the tournament playing for the championship.
Ooh, dude.
So that's why I want to pause it and run the stat on that real fast so I can use that in the interview. All right, so no. All right, he had a win today. 3 games, 1 speed round.
Please pause for this announcement.
Yeah, literally. All right. All right. So. Three points for the win. 2 points for winning the game. 3 points. And then 2 more points.
Somebody once told me this round is kind of funny. And I kind of ducked a little to share.
28 points. All right, so before we get back into interview, just to give you guys where it's at, with the 2-1 and 1 knockout, Evan has 28 stat points. which as of now would sit him above Alex in that third place slot.
Who am I
So
under?
as of now, you do qualify for the title shot, but depending on how the Isaac Jeremy match goes and depending on how Henry performs in the triple threat, you would be the first one to be knocked out of it.
Who I
Because
would be in the
Linus and
triple?
Luca are statistically above it.
We'll talk about the statistics later.
Yeah. All right. So we'll go back to Evan.
Yeah.
In 3, 2, 1. All right, and with that, we move on to Evan. Now, Evan, this performance, really well done today, really good victory. So what this does for you stat-wise, because you were one of those players we kind of had waiting around to get a third match to see where you fall title-wise. Now, you are ranked third, and you have knocked Alex Warden out of his seat in the title match, which means he's out of it for good because unfortunately he's already had 3 matches. We don't have another spot for him to play, but he is knocked out of it. Now, obviously, we do have some matches coming up. We have Isaac and Jeremy playing towards the end of the year. A win there, a good solid win there could set them above you. We have Henry in the triple threat, and where he's ranked right now, a win there could put him above you. And even Zach Ford playing in the holiday match at the end of the year, if he gets a win there, that could put him up there into contention. So there are a couple players left that could sit you out, but as of now, you are either going to be the third competitor in the title match, or you are going to have a first, second, third place seed in the tournament. How you feeling, man?
Look, I'm 2-1. I've knocked out one person. I've only lost by 1 point. This is weird. I've only lost by 1 point, and I've now beaten Malcolm by 2 points. It was a very handedly loss. Like, the way how I play is impeccable and is taught to that I'm one of the best in this league. Now, Alex Warden, you might be upset that I've knocked you out of this, win potentially, but sometimes man's just gotta go, and you're next in line, and I kind of had to kick you to the curb, dude. I think statistically, who is it? Isaac and Jeremy, right?
The people that are above you as of now are Luca and Linus.
Right, but the ones who could potentially knock me out, they probably are going to, because I'm looking at the stats right now. They probably are going to, but that doesn't mean I have a chance to keep pushing forward and pushing to what I need. That's just the way how the cookie crumbles, guys. Be afraid. I'm back.
Most definitely. And with that, we'll go to Malcolm first. Malcolm, where can the people find you?
You can find me I'm all around. Going to be all around the Worldwide Movie Games Network. You can find me over on Take 3.
Hey.
Doing stuff there as a new editor, and all over Facebook. So feel free to add me.
All right, and Evan, where can the people find you?
At Evan DeGraff 15 on the tweet, sir. And watch my new show on Take 3 Productions. It's called R2 Cents. We cover everything with politics and news, and I love the show for a plethora of reasons. But I finally get to talk about something that a lot of people don't like to talk to about, and I want to thank, for those of you who did listen to it, for the 85 views on a political podcast. I'm quite surprised about that, so thank you guys for that. And here on Movie Battlegrounds, I hopefully will be hosting a few matches here and there. Look, time gets busy. We're working on the merger, trying to make sure everything is right, set in place, which, we're almost there. I think we've came to a consensus, but it's now getting all the very, very minor details sorted out. And, we're going on to this new channel. It's gonna be great. We're gonna become best friends. We're gonna skip around at the park, eating butterflies with each other and pooping rainbows.
Apparently, we're all a part of the cast of My Little Pony now. With that, guys, you guys can find me on Instagram at Aaron T. Knoll. You guys can find me adminning on the Movie Battleground page. You guys can find me adminning on the Worldwide Movie Games page as well. And you guys can find me obviously hosting and competing here. I do have a match coming up with the triple threat against Henry and Drake Fremsdorf, which will be a lot of fun. And obviously, I host all the time on this thing. I got all sorts of matches coming up, all sorts of fun, exciting matches for you guys. But yeah, like Evan referenced to, you know, if you live under some form of a rock and did not know yet, we are merging with Worldwide Movie Games come 2018, officially moving over to the channel. All the matches we have this year are going to finish out. The plan is to move over with the championship match and make that kind of our launch on the channel. But you know, we're looking forward to it. It's going to be a lot of fun. They got a lot of great guys over there, whether it be Doman, Henry, the guys from Full Metal Trivia, Chance and Alex specifically are the two I've worked with the most. Lots of great people, and it's going to be a lot of fun. And with that, if you guys are not a part of the Movie Battleground page, there's no way you guys can play in any of these matches ever. I say this every time I host a video, but it's going to be a while before we can get new people in, unfortunately, as we do have the year booked out to finish, and we have our tournament coming up that's going to take us into late March, early April of next year. But after that, we'll have opportunities all year to try and bring some new people in and get some new faces and play this competition. If you guys are interested, only way to do it, join the Movie Battleground page and stay active. If you guys are not subscribed to the channel, going to be here much longer to make sure we get all of our matches in for the rest of the year. We're going to have like 4 matches launching a week for the next couple weeks. So definitely subscribe and make sure you're in tune for all of those matches. And make sure you guys subscribe to the Worldwide Movie Games channel so that once we make the switch over, you guys can catch our show and all the other shows they have, whether it be the singles tournament for There Will Be Trivia, the team tournament for There Will Be Trivia, or Full Metal Trivia. My name is Aaron Canola, guys. Thank you for watching. And we'll see you next time on the Movie Battle. Take care.